Yeah, my question is this, is that as we go through life, obviously we have good experiences and we have bad experiences. And the bad experiences sometimes stay with us, don't they? And they kind of, we allow it to ingrain into ourselves and we carry it through. I think that's really what you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
But in some ways, some of that is learning.
Yes.
And some of that is fear or negative experiences or negative emotions. It's hard to know how to separate the learning from the negativity. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
And it's and sometimes the learning is a good thing, but sometimes the learning is also feeds back a lot of negative information.
Yeah.
Do you follow?
Yeah, I do. Totally. Good question. And good statement they just said as well. So let's look at that. Let's unfold it, because there's so many levels to that. So, you know, psychology, emotional, and, you know, energetic levels, so many levels. And yes, you're right. All the experiences that you're going through, it is ingrained within yourselves. And okay, thank you. And they also said to me, if you remember, I said remember Anne, okay. If you remember Anne, what happens is every time you go through an experience, you're producing chemicals in your body. So you also, from the physical side, those chemicals that are being produced affect your cells. So, you know, the cortisol and all the other fearful and the other chemicals that whiz around your body, and they actually do make changes to your cells and to your organs and to your bodies. Okay. Okay, thank you. I was on steroids for a very long time, and I remember to wean off the steroids, I had to be very careful because they had changed actually how parts of my organs are operated on. So from that physical side, okay, and we know from, yeah, the cortisol and everything else. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Right, so yes, look, with emotions, you are a human being. I think they just said you're a human being and you're meant to be experiencing life. You're meant to be having these feelings. You're meant to be having those feelings so that you are put on pause in a way, that you then stop for a while and that you take in what's going on around you. This is why when you are going through experiences that create some sort of trauma and the emotions affected around it, makes you stop and makes you take it all in. And yes, on a cellular basis, your body feels that as well. Now, what happens is there are layers to this, and this is what they're just saying to me now. There are layers to each of your trauma. So, you know, it's okay, thank you. And that's why they say sometimes it's reoccurring in different parts of your life, you know, relationships or whatever it is. It can be reoccurring because you'll deal with it in layers of yourself. So you'll clear one layer, you'll go through that process, and you'll work yourself way through that, either therapy or whatever, or you've through experience or moving on through time, you clear it. And then it reveals its head again. Now, there are many reasons for that, they just said, but it is like, thank you, they're just bringing me, okay, got it. It's like, okay, like a tree, as on the cellular basis, you know, the bark and the layers within the tree. You have to work on each of the layers, and they are teachings, they are your lessons, okay? Those are what you have been sent here for. Okay, thank you, got it. That's what happens in your lifetime as a human being. You're going to experience those lessons and those teachings. Thank you, those teachings. They don't like the idea of saying lessons because they said the way humans have changed it around, the way of lessons, it's almost as if it feels as if they're being punished. It's a teaching. These are teachings for each and every one of you. Your soul, okay, when Furiel again, Soul Keeper, when your soul moves over and then you are reassessed and where it's almost like reset, and then you come back to planet Earth again to live as a human being, it's almost like those you have this sense of amnesia, in a sense of not remembering what you had learned in one lifetime, and then you come back in and you keep repeating it. And they just said, if only you, they've been a bit sarcastic, well, if only you knew what it was from the last lifetime, you'd get it so quicker in this lifetime, but maybe you need to experience it again. So emotionally that you're aware that, okay, this keeps going on, there must be a reason why it keeps going on. So in this lifetime, you have to feel it as a human being, because we know, my guides, my spiritual team, the Ascended Masters, and everybody else, that they don't have those feelings, those emotions as such, because they're not humans, they're not having that human experience. It's the humans that have the experience. And we know also when I'm doing readings that when I have a loved one popping in, when they actually physically come within inside me and I work as a medium, then they get to feel again the emotions, what's going on for the individual. Now, the reason it has to hurt so much, they said, the teachings, is literally to stop, to put you on pause, to take that time to experience it. For you then, for you then to experience it, to decipher, to unpeel it, to look through it. Okay, thank you. Oh, got it. And that's why you've been given the brain, and that's why you have to then work with it and look at the experience and how and what you've learned from it. You have to release yourself. If you don't release it in one lifetime, if you don't unravel it and see what's going on, you're going to bring it forward into the next lifetime. You keep moving forward. Okay, so it's the layers of you. Okay, and I'm like, have they told you everything? Okay, let me have a little look. Let me see, has that answered the question, or has that made it clearer, or was there anything else you wanted to ask around about that?
Well, I mean, the analogy I drew in my mind is like, for instance, if supposing I left the house unlocked, somebody walked into my house, burgled my stuff, right? So my response to that is to put a lock on the door, yeah? And everybody who comes to the door, I may treat with a degree of suspicion. And you carry that with you, and you carry that suspicion with you for the rest of your life. And you never really learn to overcome it, because you think that that's the right response, isn't it? To not experiencing that again. So there's some learning about it. That means you can't trust everybody in this world. But on the other hand, you reject also a lot of good things. And the point is, it's very difficult to know where to strike the balance. And it's very difficult to release. Say that person took away my mother's jewels, which she left for me. I'll never, ever overcome that. And I probably will carry that into the next life. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know what's the best way to sort of try and release the hurt or the disappointment or the anger or the frustration. I don't know. And is it a good thing to release it? Because you might go on and start to trust people again and experience it again.
Okay, right. I'm hearing very clearly from my guides, and the way they're speaking, they're quite rude, and I have to hold them back a bit. Let me apologise to them now. So if I come out what they say. They're saying, one, what you've just mentioned is that then from a spiritual perspective, we do not hold on to those material goods. If that happens, you would just say, well, that's what's just happened. That other person, they're assuming that you would know this. I don't know this is through religion or culture, but what they're saying is if that person came in and did, I know it's just an analogy, if that person did come in to steal those jewels, those belongings that belonged to your grandmother, then it is that they needed them more than you did, and you have to surrender that because they're practical items. They do not carry anything. Your grandmother is within your heart. It's not within those instruments, those objects. And if you so want to take this into your next life, that will be what you wish to do. You have free will, and this is what they're saying about your soul. Now, they're saying, in this lifetime, surely would you not want to learn to look at it from many different angles and then to assess it and to look and ask and seek for help? They just say, that's why you have your therapists, that's why you have your clergymen, that's why you have people that will teach you to look at it from a different perspective. So they're saying is, it's in this, okay, thank you. They said that's different. That is then what we call a lesson. Our human being would see it as a lesson. But a teaching is different. A teaching is to help you to move forward. You are talking about lessons where it feels as if either punishment or that you have to learn, but you keep getting stuck. Teaching is different. You listen, you're open mind, open heart, you work with it. But it's on many, many different levels. This is not just the human constraint of the human brain, how it thinks, but it also you have to look at it energetically. You own nothing. You are just who you are now. It's when we place clothes on our bodies and when we then say that we are this person, we are that, then you separate yourself. And then you create this sense of fear. But it's about coming back to it and looking at who you are. No one can take who you are away from you. You are who you are. But it's about learning. It's about teaching. It's about gaining more information about who you are as an individual person. And that's what they're saying very clearly.
Yeah. I was using the burglary thing as an analogy.
I know, they know.
I'm not particularly...
I know.
Particularly concerned about material things. But I think you got to answer my question very well. It's about learning from it and also coming back to who you really are.
Yes, thank you. They're happy with that. They know that you have that, received that.